Hey, and welcome back to In the Can. Right now we're going to talk about another short. This one is called The Rat, and we are lucky enough to have the director and screenwriter here. This is Carlen May-Mann. May-Mann. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I read a lot about the movie, about your short, but tell everybody about it who hasn't been able to research it.
Sure. It's a short horror film. Good start. The Rat is a short horror film that's set in a haunted house. That it's about a young man who takes his girlfriend there on Halloween night, kind of to like fool around before a party, and how things kind of go topsy-turvy and turn horrific at this house. And it becomes sort of a look at what women really are afraid of in real life, and how men can inspire fear both willingly and unwillingly.
Yeah, kind of a violation of trust right in the middle of it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a twist, so I won't ruin anything in case people haven't seen the film yet. But yeah, there's a twist in the film that really violates the main character Renee's kind of trust and autonomy in this already horrifying situation.
Yeah. Because, yeah, fooling around in a scary place before a party and Halloween night is not scary enough as himself.
You're 18.
You have no fear.
Yeah, exactly. Do anything.
Yeah. So the rat, well, you can figure out who the rat ends up being.
Sure.
Yeah, with a boyfriend.
Sure. Yeah. Good guess.
Yeah. So what inspired you to put this together?
Yeah. So I have been working for a few years now on a horror feature that I am co-writing with my producer on The Rat, Beck Kitsis, and that I'll be directing. So it's going to be my first feature. We've been really lucky to speak with a lot of more seasoned filmmakers who have strongly recommended making a short or like a proof of concept to get us closer to our goal of getting the feature made. And I just, for whatever reason, I was never interested in making a short version of my feature or, taking a few scenes I liked. I really wanted to keep that piece as its own, but another producer of mine was like, well, what if you made a separate film that has, it's the same genre, the same kind of tones and themes, but it tells a different story? And I was like, okay, that I would love to do, because I would love to, be on the ground making something. Because, as a director, as a screenwriter director, you really get to write more than you get to direct. So I knew it was going to be a horror film. I always knew that. And the question kind of became, what sort of horror film? Because there are these really storied traditions in the genre. And that's something that's really, really fun to work with, I find. And especially for a short, when you really want to hit the ground running in terms of storytelling, it's nice to have a subgenre or a tradition that really gives the viewer a lot of what they need to know just with a shot or a location. So I really landed on the haunted house film.
Yeah. And Halloween night.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's so many haunted house films that it was really fun to pull from. And I also knew at the same time that I did want to tell this story with this, this message about kind of gendered violence or, more nefarious, quieter violence. So it kind of came together from there. I just knew, horrible things were going to happen in this house, and they weren't going to be the horrible things that maybe people expected.
Yeah. So the quieter violence, it's a really interesting phrase. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. It's kind of what we were speaking about violation of trust. Less than like physical violence, or even within horror, less than jumping out at someone, less than
behind the door,
hacking someone up or whatever. Right. It's these like small things that men do in real life that make us feel less than, that make us afraid, whether it be in a relationship or just like some person following you home at night. It makes you afraid in a way that feels not totally different from how you feel in a horror film, but it's like, it's so real, and it's just because of these small things that people can do to you.
Not exactly what you'd expect from a 15 minute?
13 with credits.
Yeah, from a 13-minute short. Let's pack in a whole bunch in there.
Sure, that is true. That is true. It is, I think with making horror and just as a filmmaker, I do want to, make sure that everything I make has something to say. And with horror, I don't want to be, I want to be scaring people. Don't get me wrong.
You like to scare people.
I like to scare people. I don't want to be scaring people for no reason or for the wrong reason.
Right. So then the feature that you're working on is not just a longer version of The Rat. It is. Or it's not.
It is not.
Okay.
It is also kind of about the way that gendered violence represents horror, but the feature is about a 14-year-old girl who kind of starts coming of age, where she feels the same inside, but she notices that the older men in her life start to treat her differently in ways that at first, are harmless, but become, in keeping with the genre, increasingly intrusive and then kind of violent and horrific towards the end. So this movie is more violent. It's gorier. The Rat, it's one of the first things I've ever made with no fake blood. So I got my recipes down, but I didn't need to use them for
That's
this
so
film.
funny. It's interesting that I think that, and I don't know a ton about the genre, but horror films are mostly just to scare people, but you're actually using it to make a social message.
I am, yeah. And there's throughout horror, there have been many filmmakers who have kind of seen the same things and who I'm really inspired by and who kind of inspired me to get into horror, who have seen the potential for metaphor and allegory to tell socially progressive stories. But on the other hand, there have been filmmakers who just want to scare for reasons that could be exploitive, I think.
And it does seem like women are mostly the victims.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's such a tradition of just exploitation of women's
Right.
bodies and minds on screen that I'm
Yeah.
really reacting against.
Yeah, and running back into the house to get the purse when you know the killer's still in the house, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So the movie has actually been out at Sundance for about a week.
Yes, indeed.
What have you seen as far as a reaction?
It's been good. My favorite reaction, just a little anecdote, was after our premiere screening. I was kind of dazed, as obviously the craziest things ever happened to me, so I was kind of in a daze. But I was outside in the parking lot with my family and my cast and crew, and this very tall, pretty burly guy comes up to me in the parking lot and is like, "I wasn't sure I was gonna like your film," and then at the twist, I freaked out and jumped in my seat. Good job. And he just walks away. I'm like, yes.
You have
That
succeeded.
yes.
You're at Sundance and you scared the big burly guy.
Yes.
I love
Exactly.
that. That is so great. So, excuse me, you have one last chance to see it, right? Excuse me, tomorrow. We're both losing our voices.
Yeah, scratchy.
It's tomorrow at 10 p.m. at the Holiday Village.
That is correct. Yes, it's our one last screening.
Cool. Well, after we see The Rat, we'll look forward to seeing your next movie.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great last screening.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we will be right back with more of In the Can.